Greetings and welcome back. We are still modeling out our Mark VII Viper from Battlestar Galactica, and in the last video we were working on the cannons up here, so let's go ahead and continue there. I'm going to click on the smooth button to kind of see how everything's coming along so far, and if we jump over to the side view, there are obviously a few changes that we're going to need to make. Now, at the last video, I just grabbed and sort of pulled these points out, and right off the bat, I'm already regretting that. I'm also regretting the fact that my 3D cursor is right in my way, so I'm just going to right-click somewhere out here and get rid of that. Now, let's jump over to, well, edit mode first, and then to vertices. I'm going to grab this vertex and slide it back, and this vertex and slide it way back as well, along with its little partner in crime. And we're going to create this shape, hit the point key to kind of zoom in, by doing a little bit of extrusion instead of what we were doing. So let's see, let's jump over to edges, grab this, hit E to extrude, and there's that. Now I'm going to do that one more time, so let's hit E once again, and I'll just right click, pull that out, and then I'm going to slide these together. So that is going to create an extra vertex up here that I really don't want or need, so let's jump over to vertices, grab this vertex and this vertex, hit Alt-M, and we're going to merge these at the center. Now we can just start kind of shaping these out, so let's jump over to the top view. Ooh, and you know what? I actually misinterpreted the shape. It looks like that stops not in a point, but in sort of a flattened cross-section, which is cool. That makes my life a little easier, actually. I can not worry about that second extrusion, actually. We can switch over to vertices, and I can grab this vertex and slide it forward. Jump over here to the side view, and we can pull this up a little bit. We can pull this up a little bit. Pull this out to kind of help aid in the rounding. I'm actually going to focus on the side view to get this just right. So we'll pull this over, like so. And it looks like I could use a little more rounding in here, so I'm going to add an edge loop that goes all the way around the shape. Right here at the center, we can grab this vertex and slide it back. We can grab this vertex and kind of slide it in. And we can use this to kind of reshape as well, so pull this forward, pull this over, lift up. Okay, so now let's take a look at what we've got here. Coming along, but if I jump to the top view, not the bottom view, but the top view, yeah, I figured this is going to have to come in just a little ways to look nice. And we can pull these three vertices in now, kind of thin the whole thing out just a little more. Okay, now let's see, if I jump back over to the side view, I don't like how that's sort of flaring right there, so I'm going to pull this in a little more, just kind of how I'm defining the shape. Let's switch over to edges, and I'm going to grab all of these edges around the inside here. I won't worry about these just yet, but we'll get there. Let's extrude and just pull these straight in until they meet each other, and there we go. So those get all welded together, and then I can grab this edge and hit F, and then you can see what that did. Just kind of flattened everything out. Okay, now down here, if I switch over to vertices, we can do some more of this kind of stuff. Pull these in like so, switch over to edges, grab U, hit extrude, and just kind of, well, let's right click, let's just slide those together until they meet. Then if I switch over to vertices, we should have some verts that are right on top of each other right here. In fact, I could probably just do a remove doubles, but just to be on the safe side, we'll grab these, Alt-M, merge to center. Ooh, looks like I had more there than I thought I did, so let's deselect first. And then Alt-M and merge to center, and removed one vertex, which is good. Control-Tab-E for edges, grab two edges here, no, not there, here. Control space to get rid of my widget, and here, let's hit F, that'll meet that. Okay. And coming together pretty well. I'd like it if this was just a little more in the realm of planar, so I'm going to just sort of wing this a little. Let's get my widget back out. We'll slide that in. Okay, and if I jump out of here and just smooth all this back out, I think that'll work for now. Okay, now taking a look at our side view once again, and hit Z. Overall, this is lining up relatively well. There's some things I can change around the edges of the gun just to give it a little more visual effect. Let's hit Control R, and actually make sure we're still in edit mode, would probably help. Control R, and we're going to add an edge here, and then an edge right next to it. Now let's jump over to faces, and I'll shade things up so it's a little easier to read. I'm just going to add a little bit of thickness to the gun right there. Now, also, if we take a look at the side view, there's some interesting stuff going on here, and there's a few different ways we can do that. The way that I'm going to do, actually, a couple of things I want to do right back here. There's a face back here on the back of the gun that I want to go ahead and get rid of because we don't need it. It should be tucked away. So we can get rid of that. We can grab edges, grab this, and slide back. And that's looking a bit better. And let's see here. If I'm digging through my my reference stuff, but doing it a little bit off camera. So you can see what we've created so far. We've got these little indentations here. I almost wouldn't mind creating this separation that we see along this, that darkened edge right there along the top of the gun, but I don't necessarily think that has to be done geometrically. I think we can get away without that. Also, I think these could just be darkened lines and turn out just fine. Maybe some bump mapping. So let's keep things simple. We'll leave that cannon pretty much just like it is. Let's jump to the side view once again. And I'm just kind of toggling back and forth to see how things are sort of lining up inside, and they seem to be going pretty well. If I grab faces, I can grab these faces. Let's scale in Z, and I'll pull these down just slightly. And I think overall that's working. Only other thing I kind of want to do, and honestly I can't even tell you if I need to do it. Before I even start playing with stuff, let me check and see if it's absolutely necessary. I kind of want to add an edge here and add a little bit of rounding, but it's probably not a good idea. I'm probably good to go just like I am. So let's, at least for the time being, let's go ahead and duplicate off this cannon and make our wing cannons. So here's how we're going to do that. I'm going to turn off our mirror for just a moment. Actually, hang tight. Let's do it this way. Change my mind. You and you and you, so one face from each of the primary shapes that make this guy up. Hold down Control and hit plus a whole bunch of times until we get everybody. Now Shift D, right click, slide this guy forward. Then we're going to hit space and say separate by selection. So that becomes its own monster, which is what we want. Hit tab, get out of here, slide this over like so, and we will apply this modifier. Boom. Now grab you and you. Actually, I think I need to grab it in that order. So gun and then the ship. And then we will join. And now we get a gun on each side. Okay, now, Control, I was just going to go to Tab. We still got this faces selected, which is good. So we can slide this over. Let's jump over to the front view. I'm pretty sure the back view would work just as well, but we'll do it this way anyway. And we'll slide this over, slide it down. Actually, it's lining up pretty well. Rotate. If we really wanted to, we could say scale in Z and just stack it up just a little bit higher. I don't think it's going to matter that much, but I mean we could. And then rotate. Boom. Now, I'm thinking that we could potentially end up reduplicating these guys. If I lay out the UVs for this gun, and create a texture for it. It's possible, not entirely likely, because there is some difference in the texture here. But it's possible that down the road I could decide to just use the same texture for all three of the guns. And in that case, I would lay out one of them and just reduplicate. But I'll jump off that bridge when I come to it. At the very least, the left and right guns will be the same. And that seems to line up pretty well. Let's check from the top view. And it's a little long, actually. Tug that over. Overall, it got really close, though, didn't it? So that is looking pretty good. So I'm thinking that there's our difference in the guns, really, is that this gun is a lot shorter, which is cool. Let's just grab some faces all around the backside. Hide our widget, get that out of the way for a moment. Now let's jump back over to the top view. Hit Z to go back to wireframe, and let's just slide this forward. So control space to bring our widget back. Bring this up. We could probably just get away with scaling these down. Let's do scale in Y and stretch that out a little bit. Pull in. And let's do scale Z and just lengthen that just a little bit. Looking nice so far. I'm going to hit Control plus a whole lot, and then hit B and do a marquee selection over here, and hit Control plus a few more times. Just want to make sure I have everybody. I probably missed this guy, and I figured that would happen. And I'm gonna wing it, haha. Let's go to the front view or the back view, and I'm going to rotate this just a little more. In fact, we could, well, actually that got it pretty close. What I was going to do is rotate just around Y, and then you just roll this until it looks like the primary surface of the cannon is lining up with what's going on with the wing. And I think that's working out really well. The only other thing I'd like to change, just because it's driving me a little crazy, is to go into wireframe view and grab these edges, Control Tab E, grab you, and you, and you, and you. No, not you, or you. Last. Okay, just reselect. I just want these edges here. Thank you. And I'm going to slide these back, so let's go up into the top view, and this is just to straighten out what's going on at the back of this cannon a little bit. And we can pull these in and up, and we can scale them down a little bit, and pull these in and down, and scale them down a little bit. Okay, and that's looking okay, but this one needs to be brought back out, so let's just switch over to vertices. Pull that up a bit. Okay, and there is the basis for our cannon. So if we hit tab, we're currently at 1402 faces. It really did add a lot of faces, adding in the little details for those guns. So that's good to know, which means we're probably going to be hitting budget, or pretty close, once we get the engines in place. And with that in mind, it's probably a good time for us to go ahead and start on those engines. So let's take a look back here at the back. I'm going to jump over here, and just off camera, I'm going to dig through my pictures and find a decent picture of the area. This is not horrible. So here's something we can use to kind of get started. I want to clean up some of what's going on here with the main body of the fuselage first, and then we'll take a look at adding in the engines themselves. And you can see there's just a lot of geometry that's been folded in here. Overall it looks fairly simple. But there's another one. Oh, I must have switched that over to yeah, didn't mean to do that. Okay, so let's jump back into the main part of the fuselage, and a couple of things. First off, right back here, jump over to edges. Let's extrude, and we'll slam these together. And we can just kind of pull that up a little bit. And then let me hit point to kind of zoom in on just that part. Control Tab V for vertices. We'll slide this back a ways. Control R to add in one more edge there. We can pull this up to round it as well. Control Tab E for edges. Grab this edge, and hit F. Grab this edge and this edge, and hit F. And that should round that out nicely. The only thing I might do is maybe pull this down a little bit, just to kind of, since we've got the detail, give us a little bit of like a bevel. So Control Tab V for vertices, and I'll do this a vertex at a time. Hit point to zoom in right on that area. Pull this down. Pull this in. Slide back a ways. Yeah, I think that'll work. Okay. Now, if we switch back over to edges, we can grab, let's see, if I hold down Alt and click, I get all of that, which is good. That's pretty much what I want. Hit E, and I'm not going to worry about where that goes. In fact, I'm just going to right-click, scale these together a little bit. And let's, maybe not that much, so scale in just a little bit less than that. Now, let's see, a couple of things that, for better or for worse, I want to do here. I say that because I'm not really certain this is a good idea, but I think I'm going to do it anyhow. I'm going to hold down Alt, and I just clicked on this edge loop. Let me just see what happens if I hit E and I just slam those together to kind of solidify that shape. Take a look at what we get. Shouldn't make any sweeping changes to anything we can see, and it is adding a little more geometry. I acknowledge that. But I think it's geometry that is going to help to keep us from seeing problem areas in the model. So let's go with it. And I'm also going to switch over to vertices. We're going to slide these forward, slide these forward. And I'm going to slide this guy down. Actually, what I'd really like to do, as much as I know it's going to cost yet a few more faces, but it's just kind of being on the, it's erring on the side of caution, really. Let's switch over to edges, grab you, and let's extrude these in as well. And then I'll hit Control R, and we'll add in our one little edge there. Control Tab V for vertices, grab you and you. I'll just point so I can look right at them. Alt M to merge to center, grab you and move you out of the way so I can grab this guy. Alt M, and we'll merge that guy to last. And then we can just kind of start pulling things up and out of the way. These can slam together so that they'll meet in our mirror. And then I can grab these verts here and just pull these up a little ways, not too much. Grab maybe this guy and just pull him down. So a little bit of a trade-off there. So those two surfaces just kind of meet, but it does keep me from accidentally exposing the inside of our ship, which is, that's the big thing I'm chasing here. So now I'm going to go through this, and one vertex at a time I'm going to modify the overall thickness of that extrusion I just made. Notice I'm trying to just move these in the XZ plane. Okay. Tug that down just a little bit. Pull this over. Actually, here I think I am going to slide back a little ways. Makes sense. Okay, sorry, I'm doing a little bit of back and forth because I'm trying to figure out exactly how I want to handle this. Part of me wants to merge a few of these vertices just because I'm seeing detail here that I don't necessarily need to complete my shape. So let me see here. Let's Alt M and center's fine. Okay. Now let's switch over to edges again. I'm going to hold down Alt and grab, not that edge loop, but this edge loop. Let's do this one more time. We're going to extrude and then right click and slide this back in Y. And you see it's just adding a little bit more thickness. And what I want to do with this is slide back a ways. And then I want to scale in Y and flatten that out. And the reason I'm doing that is so that I can make a wall back here that will keep us from ever seeing into our ship. Because I'm imagining if this was a game and we had an exterior view, it would generally be from behind. And I don't want to accidentally be able to see inside for any reason whatsoever. The only way to be 100% certain that never happens is to completely enclose this. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, that said, I don't necessarily have to have as much detail as we have on the outside. In fact, the simpler I can make this, the better. So Control-Tab, V for vertices, and we should be able to grab like all three of these, Alt-M, and merge those to center. And probably these three can be merged as well. And these, I'm thinking these four can be merged. And let's just merge these two so things don't get too crazy. And what I'll do with these verts, let's see, if I merge these, what happens? Yeah, I was wondering if that was what would happen, but we can just pull them right back together like so. Okay, so that really simplifies all of that. Let's switch back over to edges. We'll grab this edge and hit F, and then this edge, well, not that edge, this edge, and hit F, and boom, we have a nice enclosed wall. Now, let's switch over to faces, grab these guys, and let's scale in Y to make sure they're nice and flat. Then, if that starts to bring things too far out, we can just, well, use the Y-axis, we can push that a little bit further back inside, like so. And we can probably, I'm thinking, get away with shrinking it down a little ways. So we could pull this in a little bit. But overall, if we hit Tab and then smooth everything out, it does a nice job of just capping all that off. So now we can no longer see inside. There's a little bit of an interesting thing going on here, but that's going to be covered up by an engine, so that's fine. I'm not going to stress. Okay, so now let's get at least a little bit of a head start on our engines. And I'm once again digging through my pictures off camera so I can find the one I want to show you. Amongst the pictures that we dug up online, we have this, which is a pretty nice representation of what these things look like. And that's a whole lot more detail than we're going to need for a game quality model, but it gives us some really helpful hints, such as the fact that these engines are essentially hexagonal in shape and that they taper down from the front to the back. And I think we all pretty much know that at this point. Here's another one, though. We have these ridges that go along that give us these nice points, but they're all flat by the time we get to the end. So that's going to be important to keep in mind as well. So let's just focus on the left and right engines, just for starters. We can begin, there's a couple places we can look. We can look at the side view, and that will help. And yeah, it's looking pretty nice. And we can look underneath as well to see how far back these go. It also gives us a really nice indication of that shape, which you can see there. Now, one thing I probably won't worry too much about, I mean, I may, I don't know, I go back and forth about this kind of thing, is what's going on with these little flaps that come out, but we'll just see. It's one of those things where I'll decide when we get to that point. I'll probably have more than enough faces to knock it out, though. So, let's see, I'll move my 3D cursor out here, and let's just go to Add, Mesh, and bring in another cube. We actually could use a cylinder on this, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna stick with a cube and keep things very, very, very simple. Now, actually, that's a problem. Let me go ahead and delete that cube. Make sure we're looking at our object in edit mode. Then we'll add in our cube. And yes, I know I could have just joined them, but I didn't want to. So now let's switch over to faces. I'm going to grab the front face and the back face, hit X, and we will delete these. Boom. Let's hit Control R, click, right click, Control R, click, right click. Grab faces here and here. Scale Z, so SZ, pull these down. SX, scale X, pull these, not so much there, but maybe it's right about there. Let's jump to the underside view, and we'll go into wireframe mode, which helps a lot, actually. And let's just hit Control plus a few times. So we can slide this over. We do not want these guys to meet up in the middle right now. So I'm going to get them close, but not close enough to actually do anything meaningful. And let's do some scaling. So we'll get them kind of in like so. Again, we're just kind of avoiding that center line as best we can. Slide this back all the way to the back here. And I think we're ready to start working. Now let's also take a look at the rear view. And this will kind of help us line up what's going on. Now we don't have a ton of information from this, but we have just enough to kind of get rolling. So let's see, if I grab these, we can slide out. We got that taper that we're fighting a little bit as well. So actually, let me undo that. These are lining up pretty nicely from here. So what I think I'm going to do actually is switch over to edges. So grab edge and edge. Actually, can I just do an edge loop? Will that work? Yes, it will. Excellent. And let's scale these out. So hit S, and I still don't want these to meet in the center, so I'll keep them just separated enough to handle that. Take a look from the side view, and that's lining up marvelously just for just getting started. So we're still on edges. Let's see, if I deselect, hit B, grab here, I can slide these guys back a little bit. Let's grab edges, edge loop. Let's hit E, extrude back to here, and scale. Oh, it looks like I hit E again. I keep doing this, and I really should stop that. Actually, you know what? Let's not do it that way. Let's just grab vertices. And yeah, I need to undo a few times to get rid of that extra extrusion I did. So boom, there. Right, there we are at the end of the extrusion. Control Tab V for vertices. We'll grab this guy and pull him out to about here. Grab this guy, pull him out. It's right about here. I'm just kind of interpolating, as you can see. I'll slide these guys back. Let's go to the underside. Ooh, 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 ooh. Do you see that? Let's grab, this is a marquee selection, so that works out a little better. And scale in Z to pull them together a bit. Awesome. Okay. Now, moving on from here, let's take a look at the underside, and lining up pretty well. Close enough where I think we're getting the job done. And that's really all I care about. I'm actually going to stick with the side view just because I can see them a little better, especially with that little edge profile. That just makes me happy. Hold this up slightly, hit B, grab these, pull back a little ways. Now let's switch over to edges again. Alt-click to grab another edge loop, and we'll extrude to about here. Scale, pull down, slide back a little bit. Switch back over to vertices, and you'll notice that I'm matching this up to the outer edge of the profile, not the inner edge, and we'll make our adjustments to fix that here in just a moment. Now, once again, let's switch over to edges, Alt-click on an edge, extrude, right-click, we'll just slide this back out, then we will scale in Y and pull in, SY again, pull in, SY maybe another time, pull in, and repeat a few times. There we go. So it should be nice and flat now. Pull that in, just regular scale, and pull into right about here. Maybe pull back a little bit further. Okay, now let's hit Control R. and we'll drop an edge here, which we will hit S and scale in. Control R again, add an edge here, which we'll pull into about here. S and scale in. And yeah, it's starting to take shape. I'm digging it. Now let's grab our outer edge here, jump back over to the side view, and then just because I like it, let's scale this out just a little bit more. And then we will extrude, right click, slide this straight out in Y, scale in a bit for thickness, jump out to here. Now let's take a look at how this is lining up in the back view. Probably pretty well is my guess, but yeah, well enough that I can see exactly what we're doing. Now if we're off by just a little bit, that's fine, though it looks like we should be approaching a more perfect hexagon by the time we get back here, and we're not. So what I'm going to do is just hit S, X, and I'm going to pull this in and just kind of let it taper back from there. We can also grab these guys and pull them in a little bit. I should do just about the same thing. So there we go. And I think that's just about close. So maybe pull these guys in just a little bit further. So SX, tug those in. Okay, now let's just to kind of wrap up. Let's grab our edge loop here, scale again, right click. Well, I didn't mean to scale, excuse me. Extrude, and then right click, then hit scale. Pull these in a little bit, like so. Then extrude again, right click, slide this back in Y. Then there's all kinds of ways we could close this off, but let's do it this way. Let's extrude, right click, scale down like so, and then let's switch over to vertices, control tab V for vertices, and control V we should have, actually I'm sorry, under alt M for merge, we just merge all those at the center, and there we go. So now we have the back two engines pretty much roughed in. I'm going to do a couple of things here. We're going to grab edges here and here, and we're going to scale these out in X slightly. But when I do that, I want to be underneath in wireframe, because what I don't want to have happen is for these guys to really merge in the middle. So SX, and pull them out until they're pretty parallel, like so. And there we go. And I think we have made it to a really nice stopping place for now. So that is going to wrap things up for this video. I want to thank all of our member sponsors and all of you out there who are following along with this video set. I hope to see you around 3DBuzz, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take it easy.